Focus isn't just about concentration. Focus is about elimination. It's about saying no to the 1,000 good ideas that exist so you can say yes to the few great ones that will transform your life. Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a child trying to catch soap bubbles? They chase one, then another catches their eye, then another. Pretty soon they're running in circles, exhausted, and haven't caught a single bubble. That's how most people live their lives, chasing everything and catching nothing. I want to offer you something better today, a philosophy of focused living that will multiply your effectiveness and bring you closer to the life you've always wanted. The power of focused direction. You know, there's an old saying, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Most people today are overwhelmed not because they're doing too little, but because they're trying to do too much. They have a finger in every pie, an opinion on every matter, and a stake in every game. And at the end of the day, what do they have to show for it? Very little. Success doesn't come from doing 1,000 things at once. Success comes from doing a few things 1,000 times. That's the power of focused direction. I remember meeting a young man some years ago, bright fellow, ambitious, energetic. He had started 5 different businesses in 3 years, 5, and he couldn't understand why none of them were working out. I told him, young man, you don't have 5 businesses, you have 5 hobbies. You see, he hadn't given any of them the focused attention required to transform them from an idea into a thriving enterprise. Focus requires sacrifice. You can't do everything, be everything, have everything, at least not all at once. The successful person understands this. They make tough choices about what deserves their attention and what doesn't. Identifying what truly matters. Now let's talk about identifying what truly matters in your life, because focus without direction is just busy work. I want you to take a moment and ask yourself this question: if I could be remembered for just one thing, what would I want it to be? Your answer reveals a lot about what truly matters to you. Is it being a loving parent, building a business that serves thousands, creating art that moves people, teaching others, solving difficult problems? Whatever it is, that's where your focus should be directed, not on the 100 other things clamoring for your attention, but on the 1 or 2 things that align with your deepest values. You see, what matters isn't what society tells you should matter. It's not what your neighbor thinks should matter, or your coworker, or even your family. What matters is what stirs your soul, what makes you come alive, what you would regret not doing if this was your last day on earth. And here's the interesting thing about identifying what truly matters. It often requires quiet. In our noisy world, with information bombarding us from every direction, it's difficult to hear the still, small voice inside that knows what we really care about. That's why I recommend to all my students to schedule regular periods of solitude. Time alone, without distractions, to think, reflect, and realign with your deepest values. The most successful people I know guard this time jealously. The economics of attention. Let's talk about economics for a moment. Not money, although that will come, but the economics of attention. Your attention is the most valuable currency you possess. How you spend it determines everything about your life. And like money, you can either invest it wisely or fritter it away on things that bring no return. Most people today are attention poor. They spend all their focus on trivialities, on distractions, on other people's emergencies. And then they wonder why they never have enough attention left for the big, important projects in their lives. I want to share with you a principle that has served me well. Never spend major attention on minor matters. Let me repeat that. Never spend major attention on minor matters. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Every hour you spend watching mindless entertainment is an hour not spent building your business, deepening your relationships, or improving your skills. I'm not saying you shouldn't relax. You absolutely should. Rest and renewal are essential. But be intentional about it. Make conscious choices about where your precious attention goes. Here's a practice I recommend. At the end of each day, ask yourself, where did my attention go today? Did I invest it in things that matter, or did I squander it on things that don't? This simple accounting will reveal a lot about why your life looks the way it does right now. The discipline of elimination. You know, one of my mentors used to say, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And one of the most important disciplines is elimination. Elimination is the courage to say no to good things so you can say yes to great things. It's the wisdom to recognize that addition by subtraction is often the fastest path to growth. I've met so many people who are drowning in opportunities. They've said yes to so many things that they're now ineffective at all of them. They're spread too thin, stretched too far, and the quality of their work suffers as a result. The most focused people I know are just good at doing things. They're masterful at not doing things. They've developed the discipline of elimination. Take Warren Buffett, one of the world's most successful investors. His strategy isn't complicated. He eliminates almost every investment opportunity that comes his way. He says no to the merely good so he can say yes to the exceptional. And that discipline of elimination has made him one of the wealthiest people on the planet. Or consider Steve Jobs, who returned to Apple when it was creating dozens of different products. What did he do? He eliminated almost all of them to focus on just a handful. And that focus transformed Apple from a struggling company into one of the most valuable enterprises in history. The discipline of elimination isn't easy. It requires courage to say no to things that might work out. It demands wisdom to recognize what deserves your attention and what doesn't. But it's a discipline that pays enormous dividends over time. The focus formula. Let me share with you what I call the focus formula. It's a simple approach that has helped me and countless others bring clarity to our lives and our work. The focus formula has 3 parts: clarify, eliminate, concentrate. First, clarify what matters most to you. Get crystal clear on your values, your goals, your non-negotiables. Write them down, review them often, let them become the North Star that guides all your decisions. Second, eliminate everything that doesn't align with what matters most. This is the hard part. It means saying no to good opportunities, to interesting distractions, to the shiny objects that catch your eye. It means disappointing some people. It means missing out on some experiences. But it's necessary if you want to live a focused life. Third, concentrate your attention on the few things that remain. Not with half-hearted effort, but with the full weight of your ability and energy. When you focus on fewer things, you can bring more of yourself to each one. And that's when extraordinary results begin to happen. Clarify, eliminate, concentrate. That's the focus formula. And if you apply it consistently, it will transform your life. The myth of multitasking. Now, let's address a dangerous myth that's robbing many of you of your effectiveness, the myth of multitasking. We live in a culture that celebrates busyness, that equates activity with productivity, that assumes doing many things at once is the path to success. Nothing could be further from the truth. The human brain isn't designed to multitask. When you think you're multitasking, what you're actually doing is switching rapidly between different tasks. And each switch comes with a cost: lost time, reduced quality, increased errors. Studies have shown that multitasking can reduce productivity by as much as 40%. That's like throwing away 2 days of your work week. And yet many people wear their ability to multitask like a badge of honor. The most productive people I know don't multitask. They single task. They give their full attention to one important thing at a time. They work in focus blocks with clear boundaries between different activities. I remember visiting the office of a very successful CEO some years ago. What struck me wasn't what was on his desk, it was what wasn't. No stacks of papers, no multiple computer screens, no phone constantly buzzing with notifications. Just the one thing he was focused on at that moment. When I commented on this, he said something I'll never forget. I don't get paid for busy. I get paid for results. And results come from focus. Remember that the next time you're tempted to juggle multiple important tasks at once. You don't get paid for busy, you get paid for results. Focus in relationships. Let's talk about how focus impacts your relationships, because it does profoundly. Have you ever been talking to someone who was checking their phone at the same time? How did that make you feel? Unimportant, right? Dismissed, disrespected. Now, have you ever had a conversation with someone who gave you their complete undivided attention? Who looked you in the eye, who listened not just to respond but to understand? How did that make you feel? Valued, respected, important? The difference is focus. The quality of your relationships is directly proportional to the quality of attention you bring to them. When you're distracted, only half present, your relationships suffer. When you're fully present, fully engaged, your relationships thrive. I've known successful business people who lost their families because they couldn't focus on what mattered at home. And I've known people of modest means who built rich, fulfilling family lives because they were fully present when it counted. Here's a simple but powerful practice when you're with someone: be with them. Not physically present, but mentally elsewhere. Truly with them. Give them the gift of your focused attention. In a world of endless distractions, focused attention has become one of the rarest and most valuable gifts you can give another person. Don't underestimate its power. The focus advantage in business. For those of you who are entrepreneurs or business leaders, let's talk about the competitive advantage of focus. In today's marketplace, most businesses try to be all things to all people. They offer too many products, serve too many customer segments, pursue too many opportunities. And as a result, they excel at nothing. The businesses that dominate their industries are almost always the ones with the clearest focus. They know exactly who they serve, what problem they solve, and how they're different. And they align everything they do around that clear focus. Consider Southwest Airlines. They don't try to be a full-service international carrier. They focus on being a low-cost, domestic, point-to-point airline. And that focus has made them one of the most consistently profitable airlines in history. Or look at In-N-Out Burger. While other fast food chains constantly expand their menus with new items, In-N-Out has kept essentially the same simple menu for decades. That focus on doing a few things exceptionally well has earned them a cult-like following. The same principle applies to your career. The people who rise to the top of their fields aren't usually the ones who can do a bit of everything. They're the ones who have developed extraordinary expertise in a specific area. They're specialists, not generalists. Now, I'm not saying you should have tunnel vision. Strategic breadth is important. But that breadth should be built on a foundation of focused expertise. Remember, the riches are in the niches. Focus on solving a specific problem for a specific group of people better than anyone else, and you'll never lack for opportunities. The price of distraction. Let's talk about the hidden costs of distraction because they're much higher than most people realize. There's the obvious cost of time. Every minute spent on distractions is a minute not spent on what matters most. There's the cost of mental energy. Your brain has a limited amount of decision-making power each day. When you waste it on trivialities, you have less left for the important decisions. There's the cost of momentum. When you're constantly interrupted, you lose the powerful momentum that comes from sustained focus on a single task. There's the cost of quality. Distracted work is simply not as good as focused work. It contains more errors, lacks depth, and misses important connections. And perhaps most significantly, there's the cost to your self-trust. Every time you set an intention to focus on something important and then allow yourself to be distracted, you're teaching yourself that your commitments to yourself don't matter. Over time, this erodes your confidence in your ability to follow through on what you say is important. The modern world is designed to distract you. Tech companies employ thousands of brilliant minds whose sole job is to capture and hold your attention. Advertisers spend billions to interrupt your focus. News outlets compete for your eyeballs with increasingly sensational headlines. In this environment, focus isn't just helpful, it's a form of self-defense. It's how you protect what matters most to you from the constant onslaught of distractions designed to pull you away from your path. Creating systems of focus. Now let's get practical. How do you actually develop greater focus in your day-to-day life? The answer isn't willpower. Willpower is finite and unreliable. The answer is systems, intelligent systems that protect your focus from distraction. Here are some systems that have worked for me and for many of the successful people I've mentored. Time blocking. Don't just make a to-do list. Actually schedule blocks of time in your calendar for your most important work. Treat these appointments with yourself as seriously as you would treat an appointment with anyone else. Environment design, create a physical workspace that minimizes distractions and maximizes focus. This might mean a clean desk, noise-canceling headphones, or a do not disturb sign on your door. Technology management. Your devices can be your greatest tools or your worst distractions. Be intentional about how you use them. Turn off notifications. Use focus apps. Consider a digital sunset each evening where you disconnect from screens. Energy management. Focus requires energy. Be strategic about when you schedule your most important work. For most people, this is in the morning when their energy and willpower are highest. Boundary setting. Learn to say no to requests that don't align with your priorities. Remember that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something important. Regular review. Schedule time each week to review what you're focusing on and why. Is it still aligned with what matters most to you? Is it moving you closer to your goals? If not, make adjustments. These systems aren't sexy or exciting. They're simple, practical tools, but when applied consistently, they create the conditions for extraordinary focus and extraordinary results. The focus mindset. Let's talk about the mindset of focused living. Because focus isn't just about what you do, it's about how you think. The focused person understands that they can't do everything, but they can do anything they set their mind to. They accept the reality of limits, but don't let those limits define what's possible. The focused person values depth over breadth. They'd rather know a few things deeply than many things superficially. They'd rather do a few things exceptionally well than many things adequately. The focused person takes the long view. They're willing to say no to immediate gratification in service of long-term success. They understand that the path to extraordinary results is often paved with ordinary, consistent actions taken day after day. The focused person embraces simplicity, not because they're incapable of handling complexity, but because they recognize that simplicity is usually more effective. As Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. The focused person celebrates progress, not perfection. They understand that focus isn't about getting everything exactly right. It's about moving in the right direction, learning as you go, and making continual adjustments. Developing this mindset takes time. It's countercultural. It goes against the grain of a society that values more over better, quantity over quality, and busy over effective. But it's a mindset that will serve you well in every area of your life. Focus and fulfillment. Now, let's talk about the relationship between focus and fulfillment. Because ultimately, that's what we all want to sense, that our lives matter. That we're using our time on earth well. That we're becoming the people we're capable of becoming. Fulfillment doesn't come from doing more things. It comes from doing the right things, the things that align with your deepest values, that utilize your unique gifts, that contribute something meaningful to the world. And you can only do those things well if you focus on them. I've met people who have achieved enormous external success, wealth, status, influence, but who feel empty inside because they focused on the wrong things. And I've met people of modest means who radiate joy and contentment because they focused on what truly matters to them. The difference isn't resources or opportunities or luck. The difference is focus. When you focus on what truly matters to you, not what society tells you should matter, not what looks impressive on paper, but what genuinely matters to you, you align your daily actions with your deepest values. And that alignment is the very definition of fulfillment. The courage to focus. Developing focus in today's distracted world requires courage. It really does. It takes courage to say no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. It takes courage to stand firm when others are pressuring you to divide your attention. It takes courage to stick with something important but difficult when easy distractions are calling your name. It takes courage to choose depth over breadth in a culture that celebrates busyness and novelty. But here's the truth. The people who make the biggest impact in the world, who create the most valuable contributions, who build the most meaningful lives, they're the ones who have the courage to focus. They're the ones who choose what matters and eliminate what doesn't, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You have that courage within you. I know you do. The very fact that you're here, investing your time in learning how to focus more effectively, proves it. Now the question is, will you use that courage? Will you make the tough choices that focus requires? Will you eliminate the non-essential so you can pour yourself into the essential? The answer to that question will determine the quality of your life more than almost any other factor. The discipline of daily focus. Let's talk about how to bring focus into your daily life, because ultimately a focused life is built one day at a time. Each morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can let the world dictate where your attention goes, or you can consciously direct it toward what matters most to you. I recommend starting each day with a focus ritual. Before you check your phone, before you turn on the news, before you dive into email, take a few minutes to get clear on what truly matters today. Ask yourself, I could accomplish just one important thing today, what would it be? Then commit to making progress on that one thing before you get pulled into reactive mode. Throughout the day, pause regularly to recenter your focus. Our attention naturally drifts. The disciplined person doesn't expect perfect focus. They simply return to focus again and again. At the end of the day, review how you spent your attention. Did you focus on what matters most? If not, what pulled you off course? What systems could you put in place to protect your focus tomorrow? This simple daily practice, clarifying what matters, committing to focused action, reviewing your results, can transform your effectiveness over time. Not overnight, but day by day, choice by choice. Remember, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And few disciplines are more important than the discipline of daily focus. The legacy of focus? Let's conclude by talking about legacy. Because at the end of our lives, what matters isn't how busy we were, how many things we did, or how many balls we kept in the air. What matters is the impact we had on the things we chose to focus on. Did we build businesses that created value for others? Did we raise children who became healthy, responsible adults? Did we contribute to causes larger than ourselves? Did we develop our gifts to their fullest potential? Did we become the people we were capable of becoming? These are the questions that define our legacy, and the answers to these questions are determined largely by where we choose to focus our limited time and attention. The scattered person leaves behind a scattered legacy, a little bit of progress in many areas, but mastery in none. The focused person leaves behind a focused legacy. They may not have done as many things, but the things they did extraordinarily well. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine you're at the end of your life, looking back on the years you've been given. What do you want to see? What contributions do you want to have made? What kind of person do you want to have become? Now, work backward from that vision. What would you need to focus on today, this week, this year, to move in that direction? What would you need to eliminate? What systems would you need to create? What mindset would you need to develop? The clarity that comes from this exercise can be life-changing. It helps you distinguish between what's merely urgent and what's truly important. Between what's demanding your attention right now and what deserves your attention in the long run. The time is now. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in the most distracted era in human history. We're bombarded with more information, more notifications, more demands on our attention than ever before. In this environment, the ability to focus on what truly matters isn't just helpful, it's essential. It's the difference between a life of scattered effort and mediocre results versus a life of concentrated power and extraordinary achievement. The good news is that focus is a skill. Like any skill, it can be developed through practice, through systems, through consistent effort. You can get better at focusing on what matters. You can build a life of greater focus and greater impact. But it won't happen by accident. It will only happen by choice, by your conscious decision to eliminate the non-essential so you can pour yourself into the essential. That choice begins today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when things slow down. They never will, but today. Right now. What will you focus on? What will you eliminate? What systems will you create to protect your focus from distraction? The quality of your answers to these questions will determine the quality of your life in the years to come. Remember, focus on what really matters to you and nothing else. Not on what society tells you should matter. Not on what looks impressive on paper. Not on what others expect of you. but on what truly deeply matters to you. Do that consistently, and you'll not only create extraordinary results, you'll create a life of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. A life you can look back on with pride and satisfaction. The power of a focus is within your reach. The only question is, will you grab hold of it? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been my privilege to share these ideas with you today. Now go forth and focus on what really matters.